I could stay like this, forever following you. Just don't get too far, and I'll be right where you are. You're a dream that I could finally see.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to insert this portion here that as you can see, I'm here on Tracie's Etsy shop, which is LoveJunkJournals. Of course, there'll be a link below. And I just randomly picked one of her kits because all of this information that I want to mention here is the same no matter what kit or digital kit or pack that you purchase from her. So if you're on your your laptop like I am right now, then you'll just scroll down here to the side. And then on the right hand side, it has, oh, I meant to close it so you could see that. Let me close this real quick. So when you're on your website, or excuse me, your laptop, then you're going to come over here and you're going to see kind of the description. If you click on learn more about this item, this talks about the details of the kit, and it talks about, you know, guidelines for the digital downloads. And right here, this is what the important part is. Let's see here. I'm just going to look down to terms of use. So I just want to make sure that I'm mentioning this in every Tracie Fox design team video that I'm doing, so that these policies also apply to, like, when she does collabs with Artymaze. I will link Artymaze's Etsy shop below so you can check out her terms of use as well. But just in regards to Tracie's, it says right here, I just want to make sure everybody is aware that you cannot sell the digital files, sell the printed files as they are, share them with others, or use any digital items for sale. So since I printed my her images onto some fabric paper, printable paper, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that you are not allowed to print the different digital kits onto the printable fabric and then just sell the printable fabric itself or anything like that. Tracie wants all of us to just make sure everybody understands the policies correctly, so that nobody is, not doing, so we aren't misusing, I guess is the better term to say, the different files and things, because this is, her property, her design work, and we want to be respectful of the artists and their policies. So I just wanted to mention that. So the pillows, like I made, or I keep calling them pillows, you guys. So for the pin cushions that I made, these would be something that you would just use for personal use, because you don't want to be reselling the images on printable fabric. If you have any questions or concerns about any of Tracie's digital terms of use policies, please reach out to her, and I'm sure she is more than happy to answer any further questions that you have. I am not the person to answer any additional questions, because I know just as much as what I'm saying right here, and I would feel more comfortable if people went directly to Tracie. That way I am not relaying any incorrect information. So I just wanted to be sure to mention that for you, and kind of show you what her Etsy shop looks like and where to find the policies and the different information on how to download and things of that nature. So, all right, enjoy the video. Hello everyone, Abby here, Purple Cottage Crafts, and welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. Today is going to be a tutorial, a really super quick, easy one, but it's also a design team project for Miss Tracie Fox. So what I'm going to be making today, using some of her digitals, and this one, one of the prints is actually from a collab that she did with Artymaze. So of course I will link both of their Instagrams and YouTube channels and Etsy shops, all of that good stuff in the description box below, so be sure to check for that when you're done with the video. And so this is the print that was the collab with Artymaze. And so what I made are some pin cushions, because I can never have enough of these, and so I like to have quite a few around. I have different types and stuff, like in Jello molds and all the different ways you can make a pin cushion, but these are really super quick and easy. And I wanted to kind of show another way that you could use the digital images off the page, so to speak. So they're great for journals, obviously. That's what that's what I use them for as well. But I wanted to incorporate some fabric projects as well. So people who maybe don't journal, but like maybe do stitching or quilting or whatever type of, you know, fabric craft, that, you know, you can use digital images off of the page. So that's what I'm going to be showing you guys today. So just real quick, just to run down the supplies. Now you can modify the supply list compared to like what you have or what you prefer to use. This is just what I use to make these two. So that's I'm going to make a third one with you. So you'll need an iron of some sort, and then obviously the digital images that you want to print off, your backing fabric, which I'm using some vintage flour sack towel, and just for time's sake I went ahead and already cut my piece to size, but I'll still walk you through that part. A chopstick or something to turn the pillow out once you get done stitching it. And again, I'll show all of this. Some thread, because you're going to need to hand stitch the closure. You can use a rotary cutter. I'm going to show you why I'm using a rotary cutter versus just cutting it with my scissors like I did on the very first one. We'll talk about that. A couple pairs of scissors, fabric, and a paper. And then some pins. And then a seam ripper, and don't ask why I need a seam ripper, but I did. A thimble, if you prefer to use one. I really don't, but I put it in there. And if you're opposed to using pins, you can use some of these really cool Wonder clips. They come in different sizes, different colors. Shocker, mine are all purple, but I have larger purple ones too. But these smaller ones I got on Amazon, so you can use some of those clips. And then some type of you know, surface to iron on, and then if you're going to use your rotary cutter, then you'll want a cutting board as well. So this is a 2-in-1 that I got, and I'll link the supplies below in case you're interested. So this is a piece of cardstock you'll need, and I'll get to that in a moment. So this is the digital image. This is from the Lorella kit that I'm going to be using for my third pill. I'm actually going to make 4, but I'm just going to show you how to make 1 in the video. But there's enough, this full sheet. So when I printed the other ones off, oh, let's backtrack. I forgot about the most important thing. You need some fabric sheets to use. So depending if you have an inkjet or laser jet, and make sure you're checking that information. I have these 2 different brands that I'm using. This particular brand is the one that I'm using for these pin cushions. So it's just a preference, I guess, on what you want to use. That's what I have. So the scraps I have left over from the first 2 that I made, and I keep everything. I'm that girl where I keep the tiniest scrap of fabric and paper or whatever I'm working with. So these will definitely get used into some other projects. And something I kind of learned that was easier for me along the way was to keep the fabric adhere to the backing. The first one I did, I took it off after I trimmed the edges off, and I just felt it was fine. I did okay with, you know, this project, but I found it was easier for me to keep the paper on, which is what I did for this one. So I have these, some of these are on the paper, but all these little bitty scraps, because when I printed out the different images I wanted to use, I wanted specific parts of them. So that's, you know, that's why I printed off a few extra sheets of different patterns. But this one's not going to be a problem because there's purple everywhere. I mean, I'll try to get, you know, some of the different motifs because it's cool and fun. So, all right, so let me get myself situated here, and then we'll get started, and I'll be right back, and we will start making ourselves lovely, quick and easy pin cushions. See you in just a minute. Okay, and we're back and ready for the first step. So when I mentioned that you would need some cardstock, you want to cut the sizes. The size I'm using anyway is 3 by 3. So that is the size of the individual squares on these pillowcase. I guess that could be a doll pillow for these pin cushions. And so once you do the stitching, of course, and you cut off the excess and you do the stuffing, you know, it's not going to be this big, of course, but it, you know, goes down. But just to show you how cute these are, and so much fun to use. And I love how that sounds, and the stick pins go in there just beautifully. And I love that it has that vintage flower sack material on the back. And then here is the other one. So you can stuff these and make these as small or as big as you want to, just kind of depends on what your preference is. But for this tutorial, this is going to be 3 by 3, and that's in inches. So all right, so what I'm doing is, as I mentioned, I left the backing paper on because it's just easier for me to kind of control the paper when I'm cutting. So I'm going to just be using some regular scissors, not my fabric scissors because it's through paper. And I kind of want to pick out which parts I want to have on to my pillow. So I'm going to focus on this corner here. And I'm just going to go right to the corner because that image will show. So that'll make the cutting part really nice and easy. And let me zoom you in a little bit. Sorry about that. There we go. So I'm just putting my 3x3 cardstock template over top. You, of course, could use a punch if you have punches this big. I do have some this size. You could use a die if you aren't comfortable cutting this with, you know, freehand. Whatever method is easier for you to use. And you can also do a rough cut if you're, I know you can't see me. Sorry, I have to have it tilted so I can see what I'm doing. Here, let's try it this way. You can do like a rough cut, and I'll show what I mean by that. I'll just do it on here. So I'm kind of cutting above, as you can see. So if you aren't comfortable cutting close with this still attached, you can just do, cut like I did, just cut a little bit over, and then you just trim it. And you can use your paper trimmer too if you aren't comfortable hand cutting this as well. So I do use my trimmer to cut off the white margin. I do that like first thing when I am using digitals and stuff. So that way I don't have to worry about that, especially when I'm printing on fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the other 3 and get myself prepped up, and then I'll be back on. So I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, so now I have my 4 3x3 squares of fabric cut out. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off the backing paper and get myself all prepped and ready for the next steps. So you can take, if you want, if you have the fabric you choose, if it's like directional and you want it to sit like a certain way, like I wanted, you know, not that it matters because the pin cushion can get turned around or something, but if you want it to sit, be like a certain way, if you have like script or something like that, or a really pretty image or something, then you just want to kind of be mindful of when you're cutting out your 3x3 squares on your paper, or onto your template size, the 3x3. So that's something I wanted to mention as well. And let's see. I mean, I just thought this was a really fun way to use the digitals in a different form. So I'm really excited to share this with you. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm just going to kind of get an idea of how I want them to be placed onto the pin cushion, and we'll just go with that. So what we're going to do next is we're going to be pinning right sides together, and you're going to pin one side, and this is where it comes in. If you prefer using the clips, you can use a clip to clip them on like this, or if you prefer using the pins, then you can use the pins. It's up to you on what you want. And don't worry about any poke holes, because this fabric is a little bit thicker than, like, you know, cotton dress fabric or whatever, because it's actually, I'll need one, because, you know, they go away, but it's also going to be a pin cushion, so I'm not too concerned about that. So whichever way you want, or if there's a third or fourth or fifth option for pinning, then, you know, you can do that. God, I have the purple on top. Abby, what are you doing? So what I'm going to do is head over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to be sewing this side down here and this side right here, and then I'll be back to show you what the next step is. So just make sure that you have right sides together, and don't ask me why that's super important. Just like the seam ripper, don't ask me. In my defense, I was engrossed in something on my laptop. Okay, so I didn't put it my second pillow. I did it wrong, but it's okay. I was able to use my seam ripper, and everything was good. All right, so I will see you back in just a minute. So as you saw from that last clip, I just went ahead and just sewed, just did a stitch just down one side. I used it sample with using the clips if that's what you prefer, or you can use a pin if that's what you prefer, or as I mentioned earlier, if there is another format you want to use, you can do that. So I have my iron on and it's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my little pressing mat here, and what we're going to do is we're going to flip these over, and we're going to press down the seams much like you do when you're doing quilting or piecing, that kind of a thing. So oven's ready. Oven. Oh my gosh. I'm calling these things pillows and ovens. Oh my goodness. So just want to kind of press them flat. And like I mentioned, this fabric paper that you can print, it is a little bit stiffer than, like, cotton and things like that and linen and whatnot. So that's why I'm doing it a little bit longer of a press, just to kind of make sure I have those really pressed down flat. And with the digitals, I have not noticed any of the ink, knock on wood, coming off onto my iron or to my pressing mat here. So so I think I'm good on that. Now, I'm not saying, this says they're color fast, but I don't plan on washing these, but I wanted to mention that note. So now the next thing to do is we're going to be stitching these together. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to be putting right sides together. So here's where you want to determine if you want these two to be on the bottom and these two on the top, or however you want to do your design. And for me, I'm fine with the way it looks. So I'm going to go like this. And then we're going to go ahead and clip or pin. And I actually prefer the clips, to be honest with you. It's just a little bit easier for me to work with. And what we're going to do is we're going to just stitch down one side. It doesn't. It's going to be, because mine are going to go like that. So we're going to put them right side together, and then we're going to make sure that our seams are lining up together, the seams that we just pressed. And then I'm going to go ahead and clip these, or do your preference, as I mentioned. And we're going to do a stitch down one side. So if I don't really feel like I need that many clips, but I'll do that just in case somebody wants to see how that looks with and you can pin as much or as little as you want to, I think. I'm not a professional seamstress, clearly, but I'm just saying that's what I do. So I'm gonna head back over the machine and do one stitch down this side right here, and I'll meet you right back. Okay, so after we have done that, now we have our two sets of two pieces together, and it's going to look like this. So now you're going to use your iron again. Get my pressing pad back up here, and you're just going to do the same thing where you just iron right down the center of the seam here. So, and like I've already mentioned a couple times, it's just that you kind of have to work with this a little bit because this is a little bit stiffer than normal fabric. So I just want to mention that. So be careful you don't burn yourself. And just kind of pressing down. And then the next step is going to be putting on our backing fabric. So very exciting. All right, so what you want to do is go ahead and choose whatever backing fabric you want. It could be the same of this, and you could flip-flop your, if you wanted to have them be double images, you could certainly do that. What I chose, as I mentioned, was just a length of some vintage flower sack towel. I already have mine cut out just to make it a little bit quicker, but just to kind of give you a visual. I'm not going to actually cut it, but like this is, well, I mean, I've already been cutting on it, but I'm saying I'm not going to cut a piece right now, is you would just take your little block here, and you would set it on your fabric that you want to use for the backing fabric, and you would just cut around. And if you aren't comfortable using scissors, this is where you could use a ruler and a rotary cutter if you wanted to do that. So, all right, so there's that piece, and that's actually what I did. I did use a rotary cutter just to kind of smooth out some of those edges a little bit. And I'm going to zoom out because I keep putting this towards me and you guys, and I'm getting out of frame. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay this down onto my backing fabric. And it's going to be, I'm going to flip it over to right sides together. I just want to make sure I have this going the right way. So this is what I was talking about because I was so engrossed into something on my laptop I was listening to, that when I was working on this one, I accidentally kept the fabric right side up. But I was able to use my seam ripper and get it apart, and it came out just fine. There was no issues with it at all. So I just wanted to mention that. I make mistakes quite often, so and I am not ashamed to tell you, because we learn from that. So, all right, so we're going to flip this over to where it's right sides facing together. So what that means is if this backing fabric was a print, say it had like polka dots or something, you would want to make sure that the print side of the fabric was right side up, and then you flip the top one over so the right side, the print side and the print side are together. That's what that means when you when they say right sides together, just in case somebody's watching who's never sewn before. So, and I just want to mention that. Now again, you want to use some pins, or you can use the clips, and I'm just really partial with the clips now, so I'm just going to use those. And you're just going to clip or pin around the edge to as much as where you're comfortable. I think I've been sewing it where I just have, you know, just the clips or the pins just on one side. And we're going to go ahead and head back over the sewing machine, because we're going to be stitching all the way around except leaving a spot open. And it doesn't matter where. You could leave an opening here, here, wherever on the outside perimeter you want to. We need to make sure we have an opening, because we have to be able to turn this inside out and then stuff it once we're done. So I'm going to go ahead and stay back over at the sewing machine, and we'll get the stitch together, and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so now that we have that all sewn together, we're going to go ahead and take your fabric scissors, and we're going to be trimming off the excess fabric that is on the right side of the 1/4 inch seam allowance. So just going to go ahead and just snip those off. And if you want to keep these for little scraps to use in slow stitching or things like that, you know, you can do that. Or you can also save them to use as stuffing, because you don't have to use like fiberfill or polyfill or, you know, the different things, types of batting. You can also stuff things with fabric scraps and whatnot. So, and then you're going to need your iron one last time. So if that's not plugged in and already and stuff, you're going to want to do that, because we want to press our seams one more time before we flip our pincushion over. Go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just press this. Okay, now that we have all of the extra seam allowance clipped off, what we're going to do is go to the area that we left open right here, and you're going to turn your fabric inside out. Just kind of turn it out here, and this is much quicker and easier if you're using, you know, like a cotton fabric or something like that. This is just, and I know I keep mentioning that this is thicker. I just want to kind of make sure I mention that, because it really is heard, I guess, because if somebody's using a fabric paper for the first time, I just don't want them to be alarmed and thinking that this is going to come out just like regular cotton fabric or something like that, because it doesn't work the same, at least in my experience. I'm not going to say for everybody, but in my experience that seems to be the case. So here I can just kind of use my finger and kind of poke in here, reach inside and get those corners out. And again, just be really careful. You don't want to be too crazy and you know, stabbing through anything. So I'm going to use this end of the chopstick and just kind of go in there and just make sure my corners are poked out really well, or at least to where I want them to be. Let's go to the skinnier side and kind of poke this out a little bit. And if you happen to poke through on accident, you can just either go back and stitch it on the machine, but I would just hand stitch it. I think it'd be easier if if that happened to me, to just kind of do a quick little ladder stitch or a whip stitch or something like that to kind of cover that up. So if that happens, if you press too hard. So now we're going to need our ironing board again, or iron and ironing board, or pressing mat, or whatever did you use. So as you can see, we have the almost complete pincushion. I keep having to check myself because I keep wanting to say pillow. I don't know why. So we're just going to give this a quick press and that's just to kind of smooth out the corners and smooth everything out. And then what I did too, when I tested this, I just kind of really quickly over the top just went over, and I didn't get anything on my iron, and I don't notice any of the colors coming off or bleeding. So I just want to mention that. Just kind of give it that press. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to stuff the pillow with some batting or fiberfill or whatever it is you want to use. I just happen to have some of this fiberfill, and I think I got it. It's either from Hobby Lobby or Walmart. I forget which one. And so you're just going to want to get some of whatever it is you decide to use. And then you're also going to need your chopstick again, or whatever you're using to poke in there. And we're just going to go ahead and just kind of start tucking our fabric in, or excuse me, start stuffing our little pincushion. So. Okay, so now I have my pincushion stuffed to the fullness that I want. Last step is to just close it up. So you can use a ladder stitch, a whip stitch, whatever type of closer stitch you prefer to use. And I'm just using some white thread that goes with, you know, what I'm working with here. So it's a little less obvious. And I'm not zoomed in very far because I need to be able to see myself to do this. So I'm just going to be just doing some hand stitching to close this here. And then once I get that all the way done, I will be back and I will show you the completed pillow once I finish getting this stitched closed. I will see you in just a minute. Okay, so I ended up making a second purple one because it's purple, of course, but I'm really thrilled with how these came out. They're super adorable, I think. Very quick and easy project to use. You could definitely use different kinds of scraps for your backing fabric if you want to do that. But I really just wanted to share with you that there are other ways that you can use digital images besides just on, you know, on the page, meaning like in journals and tags and books and all those things that are lovely, because I use them for that reason too. But since I'm like in the world of fabric as well and stitching and everything, I wanted to kind of show a way for maybe some of my followers from the FlossTube community who don't use digitals because they don't do like paper journaling or anything, that you can definitely use these gorgeous images from Tracie and the collab with her and Artymaze to use in your different stitching and fabric projects. And they definitely have more fabric projects using the digitals coming up. So please make sure that you're subscribed and that you have hit that notification bell, so when I upload videos you will see them as soon as they go live. And then also check the description box because I will have a link to both Tracie's social media as well as Artymaze's information as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye!